Morning. Morning, Z. Thank you for the subscription. Of all the Z's in the world, you're my favorite. Crush that Peloton. Yes, Glitchcastis, it is me. Believe it or not, I do occasionally make an appearance on my own show. Brand of water is the best tasting? There is an answer to that. When I was in high school, I would drink pretty much nothing but water. And when you do drink water pretty consistently and nothing else, you do eventually get to a point to where there's like subtle differences in water. And actually, that is correct, Falco. It is that. I was gonna say the one made by the company that sucks and is gonna kill us all. I'll tell you which one is not the best is Aquafina. Not Aquafina, Dasani, the one by Coke, where they actually put salt in there to dehydrate you and make you more thirsty so that you'll keep drinking the water. That is so cringe. Especially if you're like in a venue that's the only thing it has. What is the point of life? To make as many memories as you can before you die. To just enjoy as much of your time, as much as this very extremely small time you have on this planet. Just enjoy as much of it to the fullest extent without giving a damn what other people think. As long as you're not hurting other people, that is the point of life. Covering day 2 stuff? Yes, day 1, day 2, the tournament as a whole. We're talking about everything. Consider this a low-ink recap, except 20XX and stuff. I haven't had the $3 bottles at the Kalahari. What we do whenever we go to a LAN, we go and get a 24-pack of waters for the same price as one water at the Kalahari, and we drink that over the course of the weekend. We never get through that because there's always free water at the venues anyways. By the way, for those going to Low Tide City, they I don't think they had the African animal paintings on the walls there like they do at Sandusky. Z, no, I'm excited. I'm excited. You're gonna love it. You're gonna have the time of your life. Someone asked, what's the meaning of life? Go to as many lands as you can, especially Low Tide City. You go to an event like Big House for the competition. You go to an event like Low Tide City and Riptide for the people. LR? What's LR? Oh, going with. I thought you meant I'm going to LR. I didn't think going with LR. That would be good. We need more. The teams that are already signed up for LTC are good. It's going to be competitive. But we need more top-level teams going so that there's a grand finals that'll be worth watching. But there'll be a lot of really good action at Low. There was great action at the last Low Tide City. It was just basically an SAC tournament with the grand prize being a free ass whooping from FT Win. So hopefully we can get more of that. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you are molding about white chocolate winning the Splatfest, slipping on the field every single play at the Super Bowl, calling the Mario Brothers because your sink is in trouble. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. I like American football here. There's no... that's a pretty common theme here. I'll talk about the Super Bowl briefly because I know a lot of people were probably watching that game that don't normally watch American football, rightfully so. It is a very violent sport that probably won't be existing in 10 years. Who knows? I'm not convinced that the officiating was a problem in that game. Did that holding penalty at the end rob us all of an opportunity to see a great overtime game? Yes. But like anything, imagine me taking the side of some TOs here, referee, tournament officials, whatever. In my opinion, if you put the referee in a position to where they can decide if they need to pull the flag or not, that's on you. If you do something outside of what the rules allow you to do in a Splatoon tournament, and you put the TOs in a position to make a judgment call that may work against you, you can go on Twitter all you want and cry like a little baby about the decisions that the TO made. My point is going to be, you put the TOs in the position to make that call. It always goes back to you. So yes, it would have been cool if that call didn't get made. I'll be the first one to say that. Let the Eagles have an opportunity, give them like a minute and a half to walk down the field and kick a field goal, go to overtime. That's very likely going to happen. But when you grab the guy's jersey like that, even for a split second, you really can't complain if they decide to throw the flag on it because you put them in that position to do that. That's all I really say about that. Also, a shout out to Falco. It is his birthday, apparently. I did not know that until I saw about 20 people tweeting out about it on Twitter. So, a very happy birthday to Falco, a friend of the Popcast. Has been a contributor, been on it for two episodes now. And there's always something new Falco's doing where it's like, oh, I could just ask to come on again. There's a whole another 30-minute segment. He could talk about a completely new stuff. But dude's got to crush that Peloton. News of tournaments may be of interest to the casual listener of the podcast. It's Low Ink Week. Again. Yes, it is once again Low Ink Week. These things keep sneaking up. Ever since I started doing Proving Ground stuff, and I do a Proving Ground, so it's like, it's a bi-weekly tournament. It means I can just take the next week off. Nope, we're doing Low Ink. Oh, boy. So do us a favor. Sign up for it. Put your splash tags in your IGN. Somebody, they don't even check the splash tags. What's the point? We do, actually. When you guys complain about somebody smurfing, it's actually able for us to look it up and find out. Actually, no, you guys are idiots who just cry on Twitter about people who are smurfing. They're actually not. It helps to have those splash tag stuff, so make sure you do that. The Proving Grounds Region Rumble is going to be taking place not this upcoming Saturday, but next Saturday. So if you have 3 other people in your state, go ahead and sign up for it. I understand there's a lot of people outside of the United States and Canada that are sad that we don't include them in this tournament. Sorry, it is a lot of effort to divide up every single country on this planet into ways that make sense to do that. This is just a fun way to get the United States involved. Canada's pretty natural because it's got the Providences, but we combined a lot of those already. And if we'll just let the countries play. Well, no, that's not the point. If we just did the countries, then it would just be the states versus countries. It's a completely different thing. So regardless, next Saturday, get your team, sign up for it. We do have one team from Texas already signed up, and it's an actual team. They claim all their players are from Texas. So be it. I'm not going to ID you guys. It's not that deep. It's not that kind of a tournament. So there you go. Just sign up, and you guys. I mean, honestly, Texas damn near has a Div X team if they wanted to do it. If we allowed Canada as a whole to play, they might have like a Div X, Div 1-ish kind of team. New York is kind of busted. Oregon, if there are some really strong players in Oregon, if they could all 4 play together, they would be really, really good. Florida has half of Smoothie and I believe a player from DNA. So, like, some of these states are really freaking good if they get some teams in there and are going to beat the dog snot out of a lot of these other states. But we'll see how that goes. Today, we are talking about 20XX. Everything that has to do with 20XX. We're talking about day 1, day 2, and that, and I guess everything leading up to it. We're talking about 20XX today. Consider this a Low Ink recap episode, except we're talking about a tournament that everybody can play in, not just 70% of the community, I guess, is where we're at with Low Ink. But first, off, congratulations to the staff of Dapple Productions and 20XX that had a hand in making this event happen. Some of the more public ones: Pulp, Alice, Lit Blue, Baja Blast, obviously. I'm sure there were several other people behind the scenes. I don't know who the streamer was. All the commentators kind of speak for themselves. Just want to give them some shout outs because we love TOs here on the Popcast. It's really the only people I bring on to talk to, even though people want more players to be on and to talk to them. Most of the players are cringe and are bad. They're bad for the ratings, even though you might want to hear what they have to say. Sometimes what they say sucks. So just want to give a quick shout out to them. I know there's several people I'm not mentioning by name there because I don't exactly know who all's involved, but Those were at least the ones who put their faces out there. Oh, Pinky as well. Guys, to give shout outs to Pinky, who is somebody who listens to the podcast. Hi, Pinky. Big fan. The conversation going on with this tournament is not what we need to be focusing on. And maybe that's I'm part of the problem, because some of the things that we're talking about on Twitter last night and after after Saturday night, some of those conversations we have are some things that I typically talk about when I do a tournament recap. And I think we're all starting to miss the forest for the trees here. What's the bigger picture? Like, we're just getting distracted by stupid stuff that doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. People talking about the map list, as we always do with every single tournament that goes on. And yeah, Flounders showing its ugly head in modes outside of zones was kind of weird. I wonder where they got their information from that made them think that was something competitive players wanted to do. So be it. When it comes to making map lists for tournaments, I found there's two different ways to go about it. You could either have a committee of people come together and try to just like brainstorm ideas for map lists, or you could just have one person say, I'm going to do it. I'm not taking input from anybody else, and I'm just going to sit down and make the map list. I've been a part of both of those different ways of making map lists. The committee one is always how you end up with a map list that has one or two maps in there that are really cringe. And I can't sit here and complain about the map list that Dapple's had at all, because there are two tournaments within the IPL family of tournaments that has mahi clams in it. So I have no pedestal to stand on to sit here and talk about how maps are good or bad or not. But I will say the two tournaments I am involved in use that second method, where I am the only one who does the maps. I say, no, I might get everyone's opinions on staff for what they think about a particular map and mode, but for the mass majority of things, I don't tell JPEG what the maps are going to be. I just say, here they are. Here's the maps we're going to use. And everyone just says, okay. Same thing with Proving Grounds. I say, here's the 4 maps we're using in each mode. We're just doing this. And everyone just says, okay. And do we get people who complain about the map list for those tournaments? Of course we do, because every one of you are idiots and you think every single map should be in or out, and your opinions all vastly change. But if you have it at least somewhat consistent, then the complaints kind of die down a little bit there with that. My goodness, I saw somebody complaining about the museum map. Why are we playing museum and competitive? What can we just agree that we can't delete every single map? If you get rid of museum, what do we have left? We can't place Mako zones every single game, guys. We have to use some maps, and like 90% of the maps in this game suck to begin with. We got to have some maps in here, but that's the conversation we have when we talk about tournaments. Whoa, this map pool is this or that. No, let's start talking about other things. We can't, though, because now we're starting to talk about different things. How the format of the tournament. Yes, day one was crazy short. 2 hours. Some teams were able to knock out their group stage. I think most teams got about 2.5 hours to get through 5 matches. They were all best of 3. So that's good, right? A short day one. 2.5 hours, moving on. You get to enjoy the rest of your Saturday. The problem with that is that means day 2 is crazy long. And a lot of people were pointing this out. And it's a really simple fix. It's not even something that needs to be a conversation. It really doesn't. You just do double, when you get your double elimination bracket figured out from the group stage, just play round 1 of winners, play round 1 of losers. You could probably get away with playing round 2 of losers as well, because I think at that stage, round 2 of losers is just the winner of the 2 winners of round 1 of losers at that point. So you might be able to just play that, or actually it might make more sense to hold off and play that on day 2. But that's an easy fix. That's something we kind of recognize at the end of Super Jump is like, oh, we probably should have done that. I completely forgot about it until people were bringing it up in the 20XX feedback. It was like, all right, that's something we were considering doing. We just haven't really thought about Super Jump in a while. Inkstorm 8 did it. Probably a couple of more tournaments in the past did it as well. It was popular, got over well. Now, with a double elimination bracket, you are only as fast as your loser's bracket. It doesn't matter what goes on in the winner's side. If your loser's bracket is not moving, your tournament is not getting done. Which is why when I saw some people suggest that loser's bracket eventually becomes best of 5, if you're going to do best of 5 like semifinals of loser's bracket, at that point, just tell the team that's waiting in grand finals that won winner's bracket, just tell them not even to show up to grand finals. Because you're going to have them wait 2.5 hours for loser's bracket to finish up if you're making those things best of 5. Just say, you're not going to win this tournament. You're going to be iced out for 2.5 hours. Just don't even bother showing up. You got to get loser's bracket done as fast as possible. So that's why the start day one, or the start the double elimination bracket on day one thing is so critical, because when you play round one of winners, then your loser's bracket starts. So at the start of day 2, your loser bracket goes at the very beginning of the tournament instead of having to wait for a winner's bracket to finish. That's why doing those early brackets on Saturday speeds up the whole day 2 dramatically, because your loser bracket starts at the very beginning of the day. So it's an easy fix. Now, it should have just said, yeah, thanks for the feedback, we'll do it next time. Instead, it became this conversation on Twitter, and you got people in Starburst tweeting about it, and you got everybody just beating a dead horse. I think every TO gets it now. Just do that new format. But because that's how we have conversations about tournaments, that's how we give feedback about tournaments, we always talk about the format, we talk about the map list, we're talking about all these other things that in the grand scheme of things are important to talk about, but really don't mean anything. It really means nothing as far as the scope of what this tournament was actually about, what we're trying to actually learn from this tournament. The question that we're kind of looking at here, the last 20XX, which was 20XX3, which came out at the very beginning of the game. We're comparing that last tournament to this tournament because 20XX3 was very much a thumbs up, a very solid tournament. A lot of great things were happening there. You had tons of people sign up for it. You had tons of people watching it. You had over 1,000 people watching it live at one point on Dapple Productions Twitch page. You had some exciting things. We were seeing numbers that we weren't seeing at any point in Splatoon 2. And you were starting to get the sense of like, oh, this is the beginning of great things to come for Splatoon 3. This was the jolt of life that we were looking for with the brand new game. This was going to be just the starting point. This was going to be just the beginning about how we were going to go from the success of this 20XX tournament to going to even new heights in the future. So 20XX4 took place this past weekend. What did we see increase between 20XX3 and 20XX4? There's a big thing that jumped up immediately. The prize pool. The starting prize pool for 20XX3 was $400. 400 smackaroonies. For those of you who live outside of the United States, smackaroonies is a 1-to-1 conversion to dollars. I couldn't do it to pounds or whatever Canadians use. I don't know, Canadian bucks. So $400 for 20XX3. The starting prize pool for 20XX4 was $1,400. A huge increase in the starting prize pool. Now, the starting prize pool was not the same as the end. 20XX3 started off as 400. It ended up being over 1,000. 20XX4 started off at 1,400. It ended up being over 1,800. So more people donated in the third one, I guess, during the tournament or leading up to the tournament than they did in the fourth one. But still, the starting prize pool, the thing that was marketing the tournament, the thing that was supposed to punch you right in your stupid faces as you were looking at this event, was that the prize pool skyrocketed, or more than doubled, more than tripled, actually, from what it was the previous tournament. So how did this affect things? If the prize pool was that much bigger, and you get this huge influx, this more incentive to play the tournament. How did this affect things? What did Dapple Productions get out of that extra $1,000 that they had in the starting prize pool? How would you even expect that to change your tournament, having that much of a bigger prize pool from the last time to this one? Registration numbers didn't increase. It was roughly the same as where it was last time. There's like, I think it was at 121 for this one, and then 128 for the 20XX number 3. It's basically the same thing, like 7 fewer teams. Who cares? Still same ballpark there. Not a dramatic increase at all, though. So new teams didn't really come out because of the extra prize pool. Okay. Didn't draw any additional teams from Japan. The players from Japan looked at this one, and the ones who normally play, yeah, they probably has a few extra players that chipped in and partnered up with some players from the West. But you didn't see any huge influx of teams from Japan take place in this as well. All right. Didn't viewership improve? Not really. In fact, the numbers went way down. Way down. Way down. The peak of Dapple's 20XX number 3 was a little bit over 1,000. Maybe it was 1,100. I can't remember. The peak, and somebody feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, of the Twitch chat. I know there's a catch to this. Don't bury the lead. We'll get there. The most viewers, I believe, for the Twitch this time around was 600? Maybe 650? A huge cut in the amount of viewership from the last one to this one. With the bigger prize pool, with the bigger draw to it, viewership didn't increase at all. It took a big dip. Now, why did viewership go down? I think there's a couple of things to it. I don't want to blame it on the frame rate. I know I was watching it. I guess it might have gotten better at the end of it. I don't know. But during the middle section, yes, there were some obvious frame rate issues. And that sucks. That sucks that those things kind of happen. Falco and I were commentating Keo Leafy's pickup at they were called Big then, when they were playing at Big House. We commentated them playing Sayonara in the winner side of the bracket, and that was a fantastic set. And after every single game, Keo and Zero would stand up and scream at each other and smack talk each other, and me and Falco are sitting there. It's literally happening right next to us, and me and Falco are just sitting there watching it and commentating them yelling at each other. Nobody was able to watch that, because the stream was so screwed up that me and Falco were talking like 30 seconds ahead of what everybody was seeing. And I had people DMing me during the broadcast being like, dude, you got to fix the stream. Nobody's watching. Everybody muted it because they can't. The stream is so disoriented from the audio and thing. There's nothing you can do about that. Like, that's the best production equipment you can have at a LAN. And just the internet wasn't working, and there's nothing you can do. That sucks. So I don't want to point to that as the reason why 400 less people watched 20XX4 over 20XX3. I don't think that was a turn. It probably lost a couple of people, but it's not the dramatic loss that you're looking for. In my opinion, and I don't think there's a straight fact answer to this, but in my opinion, I think the biggest thing that cut the viewership was the fact that the game has lost its new game hypeness to it. I don't think there's as many people going on Twitch looking for Splatoon 3 tag, and they're seeing a ton of people watching a channel and they don't know what's going on. They're going to hop in and watch it anyways. I think more people have just kind of died off from the Splatoon 3 hype initially. And that is the concern. That is the concern, because I was hoping those 1,000 viewers that we were getting for Big House in 20XX3 was the beginning of things to come. Instead, it seems like that was the peak. And that is not a good thing. We can't have peaked 2 months into the game coming out. It can't be all downhill from here, can it? who cares about the map lists and the format of the tournament? That's not the problem. That's not the thing we need to be discussing right now. We need to be figuring out why the scene is stagnating, in fact, dipping down. Instead, it should be skyrocketing up to this point. We all said when Splatoon 3 came out, this was going to save the scene top to bottom, and it hasn't. It was a good little jolt of life for 2 months, and now it's already gone. So here's what we need to talk about now. Because I feel like this is a symptom of a bigger problem. So the extra $1,000 of prize pool that went out into the prize pool from number 3, the third tournament, to the fourth tournament. That's basically just an extra $1,000 that goes out to the top 3 teams. And by the way, I just want to point this out. I'm not in any way going to say that the players and the teams that finished in the top 3 deserve less money, that they didn't deserve the money that they got for this event. I'm not saying that at all. They put on a great show. They earned every penny of what they were getting it. But doesn't Dapples deserve a cut of that as well? Did they pay themselves any of that? Was there an extra fee that they were able to kind of reinvest in themselves? I think the answer is no. So the question is, what was the return of investment that Dapples got from having that $1,000 extra in their prize pool? I think it's nothing. I think they got absolutely nothing of value out of that bigger prize pool. So why do we even have these bigger prize pools? If their prize pool was way smaller, if it was back to what it was in 20XX3 and they got the same event, what was the point of having that bigger prize pool? If it didn't increase anything, it didn't help anything out from the organization side of things. Dapples could have paid their their TOs. They could have invested in their own organization. They could have set aside some of that money to have prizes in some of their other events. They could have paid. I don't know if Stratagem got paid. Stratagem probably should have got paid to some extent. I wonder how much of that got put into there. No, we don't do that, though. IPL doesn't do that either. MIT, I don't think they paid out anything to anybody with their prize pools. Like, when we get money, we just think, oh, let's just put it into a giant ass prize pool and just start giving it out. That's going to help everything. The numbers are starting to suggest bigger prize pools aren't helping anybody except for the top 3 teams, which is good for them. But is it really helping advance the scene going forward? Are we allocating our resources appropriately? The answer to that question, I think, is a symptom of a bit of a bigger problem that we have as TOs in this community as a whole. Not just Apple Productions, but every TO that we have in this community. If you look at the feedback channel of the 20XX server, people initially started talking about how day 2 or day 1 should have included some things from day 2. Day 1 should have included round 1 of winner's bracket and round 1 of loser's bracket. You saw a response from somebody that basically said, that's not normal. And then Dora said, whoa, wait. Since when does normal equal good? Like, why are we satisfied with doing things that are normal? And that's it. That's the problem we have in this community. We've been set in our ways. We've just been going through the motions. Oh, when we get all this money, we're just supposed to give it out to the top players and not take a cut for ourselves, to reinvest in ourselves, to reinvest in our own community. We're just... Why do you have this tournament that's a giant ass day 2 double elimination bracket? Well, it's normal. It's what we always done. We just get into this habit of just doing the same things over and over and over again, following the same footprints, the same paths that other TOs before us went through, and are getting surprised that we're still getting people that are burnt out, not getting anything out of the scene from doing that same exact thing, and not getting any kind of return of investment. We're not trying to innovate enough. And that is what 20XX and Dapple Productions, in actuality, did really, really well in this tournament. The collaborations that they were able to pull off. Shout outs to Stratagem from Squid School, who I just know as Jim, but I guess now the Squid School brand has really elevated Jim for doing the analyst desk in between things on the Twitch stream. That was fantastic. Now, no longer do you just have the commentators running their mouths, talking about the same things they just said beforehand on the stream. Now you got a different person in there with a webcam basically breaking down what we all just saw while we're waiting for the next set to start. That's awesome. That's innovative, and that's bringing in Jim, who's got a great hold on the casual crowd and is going to consistently grow and get more and more casual people interested in the competitive scene. That kind of collaboration, that form of innovation, huge check mark for Dapple Productions and 20XX for that. Also, I lied to all of you, and some of you caught it, but the vast majority of you, if you weren't paying attention and you didn't really look for this, you might not have even realized this. But this 20XX number 4 might have been the most viewed Splatoon tournament of all time. It really might have. It might have blown all of those Nintendo tournaments clear out of the water. And if you were just looking at the Twitch channel, like anybody who's a part of the competitive scene would, you would not have realized that Failboat alongside Jmoji were streaming winners round 5 all the way through the end of the tournament yesterday and had about 20,000 views on that stream. I don't know how many they had live at the time because I didn't even know it was going on. I didn't realize there was a YouTube stream until I saw Pro Char's feedback where Chara was complimenting the YouTube stream. And I was like, what the hell are you even talking about? There was no mention from the Dapple's Twitter or anywhere in that 20XX server, none of the hundreds of everyone pings to the people that weren't even playing in that event. Even if you go in the 20XX server and search the words fail, search the words boat, and the two words combined fail boat, you'll get absolutely nothing except for those few messages in the feedback channel today talking about fail boat. If you were a competitive player, you probably had no idea this stream was even going on. But that's the beauty of it, is that all these people that were watching Failboat stream had to have no clue what the hell they were watching. And that is awesome. That is a huge chunk of the casual audience that is getting their eyeballs, probably for the first time, on a tournament that doesn't have stupid rules like Nintendo, that isn't a giant freaking commercial like Nintendo's tournament, and it's actual community-driven, 100% heart and love put into this tournament. That is one of the few times that people got to see that. Now, does Dapple Productions get a direct benefit from Failboat streaming that? I don't know. I want to say no. And Spoon would go on there and say, well, it's not on the official Dapple Productions channel, so all that ad revenue, all those viewerships, those are helping Failboat. It's not helping Dapple Productions. I think there's a lot of truth to that. But at the stage that we're at right now, people just need to know that we exist. They need to know that competitive Splatoon's an actual thing. They need to know that the people that are squid bagging them over the weekend in Splatfest actually do things outside of just play Splatfest. There are tons of tournaments going on, things that may be of interest to them. And that is where 20XX and Dapple Productions get a huge, giant, magnificent thumbs up for being innovative to make the connections with big shots like Failboat, Jmoji, and Stratagem, and starting to get their brand out there in new and unique ways. That is the takeaway from this tournament we all need to be talking about. And every single TO in this community needs to stop thinking about, well, what have we always done? What is all the normal things we do in competitive Splatoon from a TOing standpoint, and start coming up with new ideas, new ways to make connections, and new ways to get your product out there to the audience. And not just that, new ways of building your tournament, new ways of allocating your resources, new ways of distributing the money that is given to you, and start looking at these things more critically. Because if we just go through everything this is what we normally do, watch your viewership fall. Watch everything. Watch Low Ink dominate the scene again. And I've been the one leading the charge for this. Low Ink doesn't need to be the number one tournament in the community. It is. And that's not a good thing for all of us. But we're not slowing down Low Ink. We're demanding all of you catch up to our pace. 20XX caught up to us and surpassed us. And they're on pace to absolutely blow Low Ink out of the water. I think every other TO in the community needs to look at what's going on here and figure out how can we take 20XX, how can we innovate this to the other orgs as well, and how can we push it way, way, way farther than what we saw this past weekend. Congratulations to Apple Productions for what you put on right there. I still see this as a step in the right direction. There's a lot of highlighted stuff there. We'll go back and look at it all. I think I might get it. Pinky, what is your opinion about day 1 groups of 8 and day 2 have 4 brackets, including Delta? I don't know. I think the sooner you can get through your double limb things, I think having 32 teams in double limb is fine. Whatever you do to get to that is fine. But I think the quicker you can get down to 16 teams left in your winners is the way to go. To be honest, I think the meta is bad as a viewer. But even with Failboat streams, had 90 to 104K on his YouTube stream consistently. Okay, yeah. I mean, I talked about that last week. The meta sucks. The meta's not helping anything, for sure. But at the same time, if you're Starburst, if you're Flippa Floppa, if you're whoever, you shouldn't care about adjusting your meta to make it more entertaining. Your job is to win because there's a prize pool on the line. Your job isn't to help grow the game. Your job is to win at all costs. So I don't blame teams for using the meta at all. Someone who added 200 to that, I didn't care as much personally. I just wanted to help out the community. Yeah, and the question is, how is your 200 helping out the community? I think that's the questions we need to start asking. Like, what am I getting out of this 200 that I'm investing into this tournament? Is it helping the community, or is it just going to like the top players that are like does that help them at all? Grow the scene, I guess, is the questions we need to start asking. Prochara with 2 more highlighted messages. I think there's a lot of potential with YouTube streams, and I'm very curious how IDYLL on my channel will do with Synthis gimmick. Yes, that's now it helps that have you reached 100K yet? It helps that you have that many viewers, because I think if like other orgs that try to just pop off a YouTube stream with the 200 viewers they have initially, it's not going to be as successful. But yeah, when you have 100K, it definitely has a huge impact. I know a lot of your Ludi matches were drawing in some big numbers. I host YouTube streams on my channel. I don't even have to be there. Just ask. Fair enough. Ugh. Okay, so IDYLL is not a word I can pronounce correctly on the first try. Is that a real word? Who knows? Low Ink on your channel win? No, Low Ink is way too big. Please stop signing up for Low Ink. I want you guys to sign up for Low Ink, but deep down in my heart, I want you guys to stop signing up for Low Ink, please. Oh my gosh, I don't know what comes after an epsilon bracket. I don't want to find out. I really don't want to find out. It's we'll talk about the matches. We'll break down every single bracket. We'll go through a couple of groups. But before we do that, it's time for everyone's favorite segment, a very brief compared to last week, weekly recap. SOS number 98 was played last Wednesday. was won by Yo Hard, that's Jumper. Quant Mom finished in the second place, and Super Greasy Full Cinder Goblins finished in third. Two more tournaments till SOS 100. I honestly don't know if there's anything planned for SOS 100, anything special like that. I don't think the IPEL servers can handle adding an extra digit. Do you guys know what Y2K was? That everyone thought the world was going to explode because computers couldn't handle that 1 in the year 1999 to change to a 2. I wonder if that'll happen with Airsign. I know you do. I wonder if that'll happen with IPL when we got to add 3 digits to SOS. Hammerhead was won by Assault to Pepper. Mako Bracket was won by Squid Strikes with a Z, no longer with an S. And Lantern Bracket was won by SPC Cosmic Cherries. Proving Ground 7 won by Greasy Goblins. Second place went to Full Sin. Third place went to Micklin Heroes. We had an all-Australian grand finals there. The Super Greasy Full Cinder Goblins, who finished third place, broke off into their actual teams and faced off in grand finals of Proving Grounds number 7. This was a single elimination bracket into a top 4 double elimination bracket, and I think this might be the future for Proving Grounds. I like the fact that it's unique from everything else. I like the fact that low ink teams get kicked out in the 10 minutes, so I don't have to deal with their low ink nonsense. And I feel like it makes the competitive thing a little bit better. I don't think every single tournament needs to be single elim, but one tournament being single elim in our community, I think is a little bit unique there. See how that goes in the future. Ludi matches of note. We got 5 of them here. First off, Div 2. Vivid got a 5-3 win over Twilight Cruzado. That was commentated by me and Lily. They're going to be facing Bad in the Div 2 finals. Div 10, Arctic Blitz got a 5-4 win over the Ink Strikers. In Div 5, Aquatic Vanguard. I see you guys getting a 5-4 win over Yoru. Aquatic Vanguard, crazy good in Ludi. When are you guys going to actually win low ink or make alpha bracket again? What is going on with Aquatic Vanguard? Div 9, Team Orca. If you have Orca in your name, you're a good team all of a sudden. Team Orca got a 5-3 win over the Inked Phoenix squad. In Div 6, Epsilon Bracket, just the Team Epsilon got a 5-3 win over the Ink Souls. They were going to play June at what could very well be the actual Div 6 grand final match, even though it's semifinals. And that was your weekly recap, sponsored by Cookies and Cream. I cannot believe how many people forget that white chocolate is actually tasty and is a delicious thing. I legit picked white chocolate. Nothing too deep to think about that. Nothing not safe for work. Like, everyone had some radical opinions about anybody who picked white chocolate. I just don't like chocolate. Cookies and Cream is delicious as hell. So it's the official sponsor of today's episode of the Weekly Recap. Cookies and Cream is overrated. Thimble IHOP's overrated. What do you think about that? Cookies Cream is only good with white chocolate. Yes, white chocolate by itself, I don't know how good that is, honestly. I don't think I've ever had just like straight up neutral white chocolate. I just automatically associated it with Cookies and Cream. So I was going to take that. Thimble IHOP. Meet me at LTC. I ain't scared of you punks. 20XX. We get Cookies and Cream ice cream at LTC. Only if you behave. Also, how's that the first time you've said anything in chat? What the hell? Is this your first episode watching day? How long have you been on DT? I guess you were there for 2 months before I told you we were trying to have a kid and we stopped playing. Group A. All right, we're not going to look at all these groups, but there's a couple of things I want to point out. Most of this was chalk. Most of all of this was chalk. Just who was supposed to win did win. There's a few like notable upsets. We'll get to them. But Dave, since you're here, we'll start off with the awkward group right around here. Oh, yeah, this is some good stuff right here. Only 2 teams move on to the top cut, but 3 teams finished 4-1, all only taking 1 losses. Ooh, who's going to move on and who's going to get screwed over by tiebreaker rules? This time around, it's the Wiggles wiggling their way on down the beta bracket after beating Seafoam 2-0 in a, whoa, that is a resume beyond a resume win right there. Couldn't get past ASC Tenchi, and whatever tiebreakers they use went into these favors. I want to point something out, and I've pointed, if you've been a long-time listener of the Popcast, you know I have a strong opinion about people who complain about tiebreakers. It still holds true to today. The only people who complain about tiebreaker rules are losers. No, not losers in the sense that you DM'd me at the end of 20XX asking if the results you got were going to be enough to ban you from Low Inc. You know who you are. No, loser in the sense that you lost too many games and you have to even know what the tiebreaker rules are. All these other teams, Yum Fries, Penguin, Bobs, I almost said boobs, Bobs, these guys have no idea what the tiebreaker rules are. Why? They won their games, forehead. Now, normally what I say, if you take 1 loss, you have an opportunity to complain about tiebreaker rules in Low Inc. Low Inc. Swiss is not at all the same as groups. Group tiebreakers, you just let Battlefy figure it out, honestly. I think they might have done some like deeper dive to like look at points scored or something like that. Just let Battlefy do whatever Battlefy says is the team that moves on is that. Battlefy with the group stage, it has its own tiebreakers. It's spelled out. Anybody can look them up. And as a TO, if there is like a super tie between 3 teams, it'll flag it and it'll tell you to play like a best of 1 tiebreaker. In this scenario, I don't feel bad for the Wiggles. Half of it is former Destiny Troops alum. I still don't feel bad that they didn't make it just because they played all the same teams. They got the great upset against Seafoam, and they played great. We're obviously going to talk about them a little bit later. But my point being, there's nothing really to read into this that much. I feel like the correct teams moved on out of that one, and we'll just leave it at that. If you lose 1 in Swiss, it's different because the team you're tied with in Swiss had a completely different schedule from you. Here, everybody played the same exact team. That's why tiebreakers and groups work out a little bit better. Other than that, I mean, this was clearly, this little 3-headed cluster here was clearly the most exciting thing from day one. There's a couple of other things. Group D had an interesting result. Heavens forbid. Healthy Diet Food Groups was able to beat Prelude and steal their spot. I'm pretty sure Prelude was seeded to make it out of this one into top 32. Healthy Diet Food Groups had other plans. They beat Prelude 2-1. Now, I wonder how much of this is an upset and how much of this is Healthy Diet Food Groups finally turning the corner and being the team we thought they were going to be, like a year ago. They won the most recent SAC tournament, and now they're coming out and they're going 4-1 in this group right here. A strong group, able to beat Prelude and move on at a 4-1 record. I wonder if, I guess 3-1 record. I guess they had about right. I wonder if we're going to look at this like a month from now and say this wasn't really an upset. That's just how good Healthy Diet Food Groups is. Like that, they just turned the corner, and now they're the next best thing. Well, maybe not the next best thing, but they've improved so much to where this isn't an outlier. This is more the standard. And I get that's what the sense, just seeing the trend that they've been on for the past couple of weeks. That doesn't take anything away from Prelude at all. But this one might not be seen as an upset. Healthy Diet food groups just might be that good. The only other group I really want to talk about, Group K here, because you had this little interesting scenario. Michelin Heroes, who was just a sneeze away from being in the Div 1 Grand Finals, which they could very well have the potential to win, took 3 losses here. Of course, this Robbie team was crazy strong. We're going to look at them a little bit later. I think this Last Chance team, I had no idea who was on this. I looked at it. I couldn't. They were really low seeded, but they were just obviously better than what anybody thought they would. But in control, Red Sun is the real interesting thing, because Red Sun's gone and done a lot of roster changes. They basically absorbed half of the old All-Star squad. Crimson and Silver, I believe, are the key players that they added to their team. And that's the real question, is how much of this is the real Red Sun? Like, is this the new standard here, being better than Michelin, or is this it was just a one-off thing? It's hard to tell when you get a brand new roster if you just catch fire immediately or if you just have a really good day. Of course, Red Sun, everybody's got to brag about anytime they beat them because they got this little INC next to their name. So be it. But it makes more sense to brag about beating them if they get quality results as well along the way, which it looks like they did here, even though they weren't able to get past the Last Chance and get us top spot. Everything else, there might have been like a technical upset here and there, but I feel like everybody that was supposed to move on to the next round did. There's no like clear other team that really sticks out to me as like, oh, those guys definitely should have. How could they have failed and not made top cut here? Because everything else here looks pretty much correct as how it should be. I have no idea who Moo is. I know the Moo is. I just don't know what the team Moo is. Looking at Gamma Bracket, there's really not a whole lot of interesting things to note here either. I feel like this pretty much went the way it was expected. You got a bunch of low-ink band teams. You got a team that won low ink, and you got a bunch of teams that are currently in low ink. And I feel like everybody took care of business against the team they were supposed to take care of business against. Frostbite played amazing, beating Scenaria, sweeping pretty much every way up until they ran into Sia, who's just kind of a different monster there. Beat Yoru. Frostbite beat Defrost. That's that seems like 2 clashing ideologies. That might be a rivalry on their name alone. Before taking Sia to a Game 5 there in Losers Finals. Frostbite, Div 4 playoffs, got kind of smacked around by Silly Kitties, who has pretty much everybody in Div 4 has been getting smacked around by Silly Kitties. So this is a good bounce back from that. Getting 3rd place in this bracket. Hats off to them. Sia, obviously, is a team we got to talk about here. And this is... I guess Sia is the team where I'm kind of surprised they didn't make. I didn't really look at too deep into Sia's group, but I'm kind of surprised they're a team that didn't make a way up to beta bracket, because you look at the other teams in beta and you're like, oh, this is Sia's DNA written all over it. But when you get into a bracket like this with a bunch of other low ink teams, you just kind of have a reunion tour. You know, it's like going back to high school and you're just like, oh, I remember all you guys. You remember me? I'm going to make you remember me. 2-0, 2-0, 3-1, 3-0. Uh-oh, Backlink Gaming beat us up. Now, to Sia's credit, they bounced back and swept 3 Backlink Gaming to force a bracket reset, and then Backlink Gaming just said, oh, wait a minute, we're Backlink Gaming, we're going to win this one. I have no clues playing for Backlink Gaming. They've had like several different teams, and I feel like Backlink Gaming has sponsored different teams over the years that I've been playing. It wasn't like there was a Backlink Gaming team that was like Div 1 or Div 2 back in the day, and then you got this squad. Okay, I didn't recognize that name. So is this okay? So this is definitely a different squad than what I remember here, but still, okay, that one sticks out to me. I see you. So I don't really know what to think about that going forward, but there it is. But so Backlink Gaming ended up winning that one, and the team that finished in the 2nd place. I love having the opportunity to do this. There it goes. See ya. Got silver in Gamma. Beta bracket. A few more teams I want to give some shout outs here too. First off, Data, another one of those teams, and I don't know who played for Data this time around because we know they've been going over a roster shift over. They got Echo in here, so it's more of a D-A-T-E. It's Date, and it's Valentine's Day coming up. Change your name to Date. Come on, that makes a lot more sense. It's pretty cute too. Well, Data, as they're currently known as, played really well in this upcoming all the way through this tournament. 2-0, 2-0, beat Smile. Hex said, nah, you're not ready for us yet. Get out of here. I think they got a few more wins down here in this bracket as well. Beat Opium 2-1. And then the Silly Kitties slapped them silly. But still, this is a great bounce back for Data. Not going to talk about anything other than that with this team. I just think it's good that they're able to find a new player for them, and they're able to kind of pick up where they left off and get some quality results going forward. Some other teams to point out here. The Silly Kitties deserve a little bit of a recognition here. And I've seen people say that the Silly Kitties are not a Div 4 team. And this is why when we stick it into our minds of the divs that you guys get at the beginning of December. We're now in February. It's been about 2 months now. Or was that the end of November? I can't remember. Regardless, whatever div you have right now is no longer applicable. You have all gotten a lot better since then, and some of you have really, really sucked since then as well and need to be coming down a few divs. But since loot only happens once in a blue moon, you get stuck with that div, and then people will be like, whoa, that team's a Div 4 team? Why are they a Div 4 team? Because Silly Kitties didn't have results like this back in December. We can't see teams off of, like, we can't see into the future. And some of the people in the seeding council can't even see into the past or the present either, myself included. So don't worry about divs right now, because Silly Kitties is clearly better than some of the other all of the other Div 4 teams. And they proved it right here. Shadow Squids, 2-1. Opium said, no, not yet. Go have fun in losers. To where Silly Kitty said, okay. Fresh Cut Bunny? Who plays for Fresh Cut Bunny? What the... I don't think I know any of those guys. Still a funny name. Fresh Cut Bunnies. 2-1. Rabid. 2-0. Smile. 2-0. Decay. 2-0. How many games did they win in losers bracket? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They had to win 6 games in losers bracket, getting into a decisive game 3 of those times, including beating Ouroboros. Going all the way up against the Wiggles. Of course, they couldn't flex on the Wiggles. My favorite team, the Wiggles. Able to take them to game 5 and not survive that one there. Nicely done, those Silly Kitties. That is a heck of a losers run all the way across the board. Ouroboros, we got to talk about these guys, because I really don't know what to make of them. They beat this, I believe this is basically a, I forget this team's name. I always get them confused with Opium, but I don't, it doesn't matter. This Orbit, thank you. That's who I'm thinking of. This is former Orbit players. Ouroboros beat them, and whoever this Noxious Cherry team, they beat them, beat this Everest team. So they get wins moving up to winner semifinals. The Wiggles stopped everything right there, and I believe they immediately get knocked out by Silly Kitties right next up. I don't know what to think of Ouroboros, because their debut was that Proving Grounds tournament where they finished second place and damn near forced Smoothie into a bracket reset. They beat Prelude twice. I think they beat Full Sin, and Ouroboros came out the gate really flexing. But you look at some of the results they've been getting since then, you start to think, okay, was that an outlier? Were they like flying, were they like punching above their weight class? Are they like coming back down to earth now? I don't know. It's hard to get a gauge. I feel like seeding them like where they get seeded in all these events is fine, but I feel like the excitement has kind of worn off, and now there's expectations, and now there's like pressure, and maybe that's getting to them. Maybe it's just a little bit of a different thing. But I feel like Ouroboros hasn't been as strong as their first Proving Grounds tournament, where they really showed us all what their potential is. And I feel like it might be just the fact that there is maybe expectations now based off of that. The Wiggles. Attaboy Wiggles. I called you guys losers because of the tiebreaker thing. But you guys proved you are not losers right here. Keep in mind, this is the same team that beat Seafoam 2-0. Where are the Wiggles at? Where did they get seeded? They're seeded number 10 after barely missing the top cut. Ikaroku 2-0. Rabbit 2-1. Opium. You have to go and have some copium if you're going to play the Wiggles. Ouroboros 3-0 the Wiggles, and then Hex beat them up pretty good twice in a row before Wiggles was able to beat Silly Kitties 2-1. Did they no, they didn't play Silly Kitties twice. But the Wiggles, this is a fantastic result. DT alum, Sir Skit and Daybreak, both of whom are going to be at Low Tide City. Former Destiny Cadet Toxic Haze member, Splatfur, and I believe Cloud. Cloud with a K was also on that roster as well. Nicely done to all of you guys. I don't know if Daffernape actually played or not. It looks like they're listed down there as a sub. But nicely done, guys. A lot of good things to take away from that tournament there. I know several of them got suggested into some Plus server stuff. But Hex is just the different animal. I think Hex might be... Who knocked Hex out? How did Hex not make the top bracket? That's something I completely missed here. Where is Hex? It's going to take me a second to find him. Because that's definitely a team that probably should have been seeded to make top 32, and they didn't. Where are they? Oh, there they are. Oh, Cascade Duck Crew beat them. That was on stream too, wasn't it? That's fair. That's just a tough group, honestly. Backlink Gaming, the team that won Gamma brackets, down here as well. Your Gamma and Beta bracket champions are in the same group. That's just a tough group. So be it. But when you end up in a group that you're not supposed to be in, what do? You play in it and you destroy everybody. Hex, okay, this must have been seeded like a different way. Something here. Hex is number 8 seed. They lost one game to Red Sun, and that's it. Oh, man. You can tell when a team is playing pissed off just by looking at the scoreboards of some of these things. You know, Hex went into this one being like, man, we don't want to be here, and we're just going to let everybody else know that we don't want to be here. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Take it easy on these guys, Hex. Some of them are playing for +3 results, dude. Jeez. Alpha bracket. Then we'll call it a day. The most interesting storyline going on in the competitive scene right now is who is the second best team in the West. That's a really good storyline, and it's really interesting watching all of these teams try to battle it out to see who is the Robin to Starburst's Batman. Starburst, yes, I know, we'll talk about Starburst in a minute, but let's just make it clear, and if you don't think this, you're a moron, you're not paying attention. Starburst isn't just the best team in the West. It's not even close at this point. I don't even know the last time Starburst lost a game to a team that didn't have players from Japan on it. On a Sunday bracket. I think you have to literally go back a couple of years. It's been a hilariously dominant stat that Starburst has, especially in these Game 5 games. Starburst has been taken to a Game 5 a lot against teams from the West, and nobody can put them away. They have the most insane anime plot armor of anybody in these Game 5s. Like I did it a couple of weeks ago. I listed off their stats in Game 5. It's something ridiculous like 11-0 in major tournaments on Sundays. Make it 12 now against teams from the West. Now when they play teams from Japan, we'll get to that. But who's the second fiddle right now? Well, initially we thought it was Sayonara, and then Alliance Rogue, Graveyard Shift, Oro Jackson. It's interesting. There's a lot of teams in the mix for the second place team, and it's cool to watch them all play. Oh, by the way, there's a new team we need to start talking about in that category because something interesting happened. Last Resort's been knocking on that door. they've been flirting with getting some quality wins. They started winning some weeklies. They're starting to beat some better teams. And now you see them finally crack through yet again and get a new threshold. Last Resort 2-0 Graveyard Shift. Best of 3, mind you, not the same as best of 5, doesn't matter. And oh boy, the only reason I know this set took place is because I looked on Twitter and there was some friendly trash talk going on after this one was done. And I love that. Oh my gosh. There's one thing being a jackass to other people in the community, and there's a completely different thing when somebody talks trash to you and then you beat them in a tournament and you let them know about it. I am all for that. We need more of that in the scene, and I love that. What a statement by Last Resort, knocking out Graveyard Shift right here. And I think Last Resort got crushed. No. They had a little bit of a run here, beat Yes Sir, and then this Robbie team that was really strong made the run all the way through. But what a statement by Last Resort. I think you got to start putting them in the conversation of potential. They're in that mix of teams for the second place spot in the West right now with the things that they've been doing. Let's take a look at some of the other teams that are usually in that conversation. Alliance Rogue. They've had a little bit of a roster turnover. Where are you at, Alliance Rogue? I know you're around here somewhere. They're on the bottom side of the bracket. Here they are. They beat Syntopia, ASC Tenchi, and then they ran into the Leafy.Q in Japan pickup before getting 3 over there. That's fair. What did they do down here in the loser side of the bracket? Oh, hey, Graveyard Shift, there you are. You got knocked out by Bobs. I see you. Alliance Rogue beat Bobs, Chewits Mafia. So a good showing by Alliance Rogue. The only teams to beat them had players from Japan on it. So a solid showing from Alliance Rogue. You have nothing to feel bad about with Alliance Rogue. Graveyard Shift got put to bed right there. Oro Jackson. Now, here's the question with Oro Jackson. Okay, it looks like they were actually Oro Jackson and not one player from Oro Jackson and 3 players from Japan. So this is the actual Oro Jackson squad. Not the most impressive run through things right there that they've had in the past, but so be it. They're still here. I believe this is the same team that finished 3rd place last 20XX, getting eliminated really early for them this time around. But I mean, there's just so many strong teams across the board right here. I gotta mention Destiny Bond, just because it's the elephant in the room. Yes, they're here, they're playing, and they're playing really well. 2-0 into a lot of these players, strong teams. Kagura was able to just kind of beat him up on stream. Did they go anywhere in losers? No, they didn't really go anywhere in losers. Destiny Bond feels like they could be in that mix of teams that can make 2nd place. They got Bliss on their roster, and Bliss didn't play in this. They're not going to be allowed to play in this. There's no actual community tournament Bliss is going to be allowed to play in. They get to play in the Nintendo one, and they're going to be playing in the Boston one, but that hinders Destiny Bond because no org is going to be the first one to allow Bliss back into the scene. That's not going to happen. So they got a player just floating around that they'll never be able to use. But the roster they pulled out into this tournament was great. Probably just needs to play more time. We don't see Destiny Bond as a whole playing in a lot of these tournaments, so this is the first time they actually got through here. But they're another team, if they just played more consistently with legal rosters like they did this last time, can be in that conversation. It might actually be the number 2 team in the West right now. Not really sure. Of course, the elephant, I guess the other elephant in the room is we're looking at all these teams here. We got Kyo with Flippa Floppa. We got Doc Q and Leafy with Kagura, Starburst. Yeah, like here's all. We actually know these teams. What happened to the, isn't there a Japan monster floating around here? None of these teams have the number. Where's the number 1 seed? Oh, oops. What happened here? Chewits Mafia? Chewits Mafia, the number 33 seed, knocked out the number 1 seed, the monster team? Like, we've seen these guys enough. We know who Clix is now. This is What in the world happened here? You can't use the best of three. Oh, it was just the best of three excuse. You can't do that. This is just a different kind of result. There's no reason Finally should be losing one, let alone two games. Chewitt's Mafia just let them have it. And then you look all the way down here. So, okay, oh no. Finally is a strong team, and they're at the very beginning of the losers bracket. People are just going to get hunted and destroyed. Oh my gosh! The first game out, they got Bob's. And before you can say Bob's your uncle, Brian, Ben, Synopsis, and Omega said, get out of our tournament. 2-1 in round 3 of losers bracket. Whoa. My goodness. Europe was not having it this weekend. By the way, Bob's played really fantastic this entire event as well. So that leaves us with our two final teams, Starburst and Flippa Floppa. Starburst needs no introduction. They're the best team in the West. They are a distant first best team in the West. Everybody's playing catch up. Everyone's biting themselves trying to be the second place team. Nobody can really catch up to them. You know what's weird though? Starburst doesn't have a major win to their title. Yeah, they've won Big House and they've won some other events that don't have Japan in it. But whenever Japan's involved, except for the Mode Cup, which wasn't a major, it was a one-day thing, and the Rainmaker Cup, which was a Japan tournament, but a lot of people were saying a lot of strong teams from Japan weren't playing in that. Outside of that, Starburst, as dominant as they are, as much as we are starting to have the conversation of, are they better than FT Win was in Splatoon 2? They don't have a legit major to their name because it's always some brand new team popping up here and just getting the better end of them in these grand final sets. And this is another situation. We've seen this so many times now. Starburst 3-1 Flippa Floppa. Get out of here. We're the stronger team. 3-1 Kagura. .Q Leafy with two players from Japan. We don't really care. We're Starburst. We're winning this one. And then they get the grand finals. 3-0. 3-1. 6-1. What is going on in these grand finals? And I know they tweeted out there's probably a little bit of fatigue going on. And that's something I've been mentioning before. When I had 9 on a few weeks after the last 20XX, I kind of mentioned that to him. And 9 said one of the main reasons why Starburst isn't as strong in these grand finals as the team they're playing against is because Japan does a much better job of making the adjustments. And there's a lot of truth to that. But this is, this Flippa Floppa team, this is twice a Kyo-led team, because they did the same thing in Stormbreak as well, just getting the better end of Starburst right here. I wonder if it's something mental at this point. I wonder if they get to these grand finals things and they've realized it's been like 5 or 6 or 7 straight times where somebody from Japan gets the better end of them. And none of those grand final matches have really been close. They really haven't been that close with each other. I wonder if it's something mental with that. And I wonder if it is a little bit of the fact that maybe because they win this, they have to take that break and they have to sit there longer. And that's why when somebody suggests losers should be best of 5, I'm like, just Starburst is no shot going to win if you're going to make them wait even longer for these matches to get going here. But for whatever reason, Starburst just can't get it done in the grand final sets. And it's preventing them from having that finally moment that we've been waiting for them to have. For Flippa Floppa, for Kyo and Fins, I was watching Kyo stream, and I've been watching some FT Win streams back when they were the monster they were in Splatoon 2. It's night and day listening to the VCs. I know they're completely different teams. The only thing in common with Flippa Floppa and FT Win is Kyo, so you can't just say it's a Kyo, FT Win pickup. but the Keo's the one player we know. And those FT Win VCs, those things are violent. Those things are rowdy. It seems like every single match they're playing, they're in a literal fist fight with whoever their opponent is, whether their opponent can defend themselves or not. And then when they beat somebody, they're talking trash to them. And it's very hype. It's very high energy. If you listen to the VC of Keo's stream, when Flip a Flop is playing Starburst in these two sets, it's very chill, very, very low key. It's now they're speaking in a different language, but it's not aggressive. It's very calm. It's very collected. It's like they're just doing a scrim. It's like it's just an everyday match for them. You know, I talk about how you can't scrim for grand finals. You can't prepare for grand finals. They sounded so calm in this set, if you listen to that VC. And it's so weird because we're used to that high energy, the screaming, the yelling, the I'm better, the let's frickin' goes. Instead, it was just nice. Every time they get a splat, nice. Nice. Yeah, nice. They win a game. Oh, nice. Nice win. Yeah, nice. Maybe it's just that level of calmness, just that level-headedness. Maybe that's a little bit of the different thing. I don't know. But for now, it's the same result we've always been seeing. Starburst dominant up to grand finals, and then it all falls apart. That doesn't take away from their legacy. It doesn't mean they're still not the number one team in the West. It's just a question of when are they finally going to get it done? Because they clearly showed that there's nobody they can't beat. There's nobody in the world they can't beat. It's just when are they finally going to get it all put together? I think there was some more highlighted stuff. Graveyard Shift got put 6 feet deep. They'll be dug back out again, though. They'll be back. Heard that Melon couldn't play due to contract obligations, but that's just what I've heard. Can't say for sure. I can't comment on that. I don't know what contract. Yeah, unless you heard something official from Melon, I would not treat that with anything. But there you go. All right. Sign up for Low Ink. We'll do a Low Ink recap preview episode on Friday. I got a really cool topic for Friday's episode of the Low Ink preview. I'll tweet about it later this week, but I got a really cool topic. If you've been a part of Low Ink at any point, you'll want to tune in and watch the Low Ink preview Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, though, if you'd like to be a part of the podcast in any way, feel free to reach out my socials below. Twitter, Mr_Popgun. Discord, Popgun, #5882. YouTube at Popgun25. Anchor.fm/Popgun. Twitch at Popgun25. Can you just search Popgun at this point and find me? Am I not that big yet? So be it. Undershirt Man. We haven't rated Undershirt Man. Oh, wait, no. Rose is streaming. Let's rate Rose. Get vaccinated. Stay safe. Don't do anything dumb. And go eat some white chocolate. Like, some of you need to try white chocolate. You might be pleasantly surprised. It's not that bad. What?